us down here,
Ooh, this is
and
exciting.
I'm just gonna go from now because
Okay.
normally I do this whole thing where I'm like, I don't know if we're live or not, um, but we should be live. So hello everyone,
Nice.
watching here on YouTube, on Facebook. I guess I could throw my phone up there and well, no, then it would just be me, and no one could hear you because I'm wearing headphones. So that would not be good. So Facebook, YouTube, you are what we have tonight. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the saturated market, and sorry, the quote unquote saturated market,
You gotta use the bunny
and
ears.
we got to use the bunny ears.
Hmm.
And yeah, so if you have any questions about marketing, branding, anything as Melese and I are going through our conversation. If you're like, oh, hey, follow up question on that, drop it in the comments and I'll bring it into the episode. Okay. I was just double checking, making sure we're live on both YouTube and Facebook. And we are. So, okay.
Yay.
I guess we can get into the episode.
All right.
Yeah. Well, Melise, welcome to the show. I am very excited to talk with you. It's been a minute since I mean we DM
Yeah.
pretty regularly. I
Yeah,
feel
that's
like
true. Yeah,
I'm
we do.
always like commenting on your stories, but it's been a minute since we've been able to like chat, which is
I
probably
know.
why
I'm
we're
kind of
like
loving this.
10
This is
minutes
so
into
nice.
banter
I
of pre-recording. I was like, oh, we should probably record some of this.
know. Right. We should start showing other people what our conversation sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah, about kids and video games and
Right. We really got into it
allergies.
beforehand.
Yeah, yeah, it was great. But yeah, well, Melise, tell us a little bit about you, where you're based, what you do, all of the fun things.
Yeah, so my name is Melese Miller, and I'm in the Salt Lake City area, just outside of it, and I do brand photography, mostly just to try and help people in their businesses really zero in on their target clients, the best people for them, and do that in an interesting and creative way.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what I like has really drawn me to your photographs is every time that I see them, I'm just like even if I don't know that it's yours, just like scrolling through Instagram or whatever, I'm just like, "Oh, this is interesting. What is like
Nice.
who is this?" And I'm
Yes,
like,
thank
"Oh,
you.
it's
Best
Melise.
compliment
Okay,
ever.
cool." Yeah, that's why I
We
was
just
like,
want the double take. We want the double take. That's what we
that's
want.
it. Yes, we want you to stop scrolling and just like go back up for a second,
Yep.
and then that's all we need for the algorithm. And then they're like,
Yes, that's
okay,
it.
cool, I'll send you more.
Legit.
Which is probably why I see your stuff all the time now. Um,
That's awesome.
but yeah, and that's why I thought of you when I was like, I really want to talk about the saturated market and how I hear that often when I'm talking to other photographers about like what are you struggling with right now, what's difficult, and they're like it's just the market is so saturated, there's so many
Right.
other photographers out there, it's hard to get ahead and do something. And I was like, Melissa's doing something different. And I know that is what you need to do to stand out from the crowd. So yeah, I'd just kudos on the just like
Thank you.
the creativity. I know that it takes a lot because I'm like dabbling into brand photography now
Mm,
and working with a few people, and
yeah.
it takes a lot of planning to like figure out everything because I'm
Yeah.
coming from weddings and family photography, which I approach in a very
Oh yeah.
documentarian type way of like, I'm going
Hmm.
to photograph what's going on
Right.
and like softly shape
Right. Oh, totally.
what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're sort of playing off of their emotions, right? And you're
Uh
kind
huh.
of like kind of bringing those to light. Whereas with brand photography, you kind of have to have a very clear idea of
Right.
what you want going into it, so that you can actually come away with what they actually need.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
it's
then
very plan
adding
based.
adding that creativity on top of there instead of just like, okay, you want some like product photos in front of a white backdrop, cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like doing the extra, throwing film in there and light
Yeah.
leaks and all the extra stuff that just kind of makes it more creative and really speaks to how uh their ideal clients are searching for them and looking for them in
Right.
that field that they're looking for.
I think that that's one of the most interesting parts about it to me is that like every single person that I work with is different, even if they're within the same industry. Like I have
Mm,
photographed probably 4 photographers in the last month or so. And I think that people might think, oh, okay, like they're all going to kind of look the same, but
yeah,
they're all after different clients. They all have different kinds of work that they're going for and different kinds of things that they're trying to speak to with their clients, that it makes it such an interesting and fun puzzle to solve, where it's like, okay, here's my creative tool bag and here are the types of people that you are trying to draw in. Where does it match? Like what can we do to sort of make
right.
those clients be like, oh my gosh, this is like we're a match made in heaven, like I need
Yeah.
to hire you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Instead of just like the traditional sitting with the computer in front of you, smiling at the
Yes.
camera,
I
laughing
actually I
off.
remember telling one client, I was like, just so you know, we're not doing any laptop shots. This is not happening. Like there will be no laptop shots because those are just they just tend to turn into white noise. And that's I think where
Yeah.
people may get this idea of like this there's this saturated market and it's because everybody looks the same. Like if and not no one is the same. Like that's the thing that's the most interesting is that like
Right.
maybe there's some people that like their work looks similar, but I guarantee there are things that either in their process or their client experience that they provide that are different. And so those are like the things that you really want to be like pushing forward on platforms like Instagram or your website. And especially since, I mean, our just marketing in general is just so visual now, you want to do that visually, you know,
Yes.
and try your best to sort of say something within a couple seconds.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that's I think you bring a great point up with the white noise because like we were saying earlier,
Yeah.
you want that second look, that scroll back up
Yep.
to what was that? That's different. Okay, that
Yeah.
wasn't just another photographer standing there holding their camera laughing. It
Right.
was it was something interesting. Like your
Yeah.
profile picture, which I had to use because it fit perfectly for the topic of like standing
Yeah.
out because your profile picture is rotated 90 degrees. I'm like,
Mhm.
that is eye catching. And that is
Yeah.
something that as you're scrolling through or as you're um, like your target clients who are wanting something different and
Right.
something that's not like every other brand photographer, they're going to stop and be like, wait, this, my eyes are saying like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
what, this is different.
Yeah.
Go back and figure out what's going on.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's such a good thing to think about, you know, whether you're a branding photographer or any kind of photographer or business owner of just like, how do you get that scroll back, that second look,
Mhm.
the that question of like, oh, this is different. Let me
Mhm.
what is that? So
Right.
I yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's so great. And I know that
It's
we're
the goal.
gonna totally get into that
Yeah.
in the episode, but I do want to ask you a question because I love this question. I ask just about everyone this one.
Yeah.
Um, through your career or just in life, has there been a lesson or um, something that you've learned that really just changed the way that you look at business?
Yeah, actually. So I guess it was last year I hired a brand strategist to give me a rebrand, and she's incredible. Her business name is Branding for Women, but her name's Carolee. Anyway,
Nice.
she's wonderful and is so good at what she does. And the thing that I feel like I really came away with from that experience with her was this idea of niching in, and how incredibly important that is,
Hmm.
so that the message that you are giving to whoever it is that you're shouting it out to is super clear and very understandable. I do this. Like instead of it being like it's really scary to niche in completely,
Oh
just so
yeah.
that I'm like very self-aware here because it was terrifying. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, this is really scary. So I'd spent the last like 4 years, I think, photographing families and getting really great at that and like I felt very comfortable in it, and I was going to do like a little bit of both at the same time. And it's been really freeing, I think, in a lot of ways to niche in completely and just like really go after it. And now it's one of those things that like I meet people and it's like they know what I do. Like
Yeah.
it's a done deal. I feel like that has really helped. The other thing that I think comes to mind is just the importance of networking. The importance, and not like in like an icky like business kind of way, but
Right.
like
Yeah.
making connections with people in so many different industries within your own industry. It is the thing that builds success in my mind. And like surrounding yourself with people who are just as excited about your success as they are their own.
Yes.
Just it is a huge game changer. Like those two things together, I think in the last couple of years have been huge for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say those do fit really well together,
Mm-hmm.
of the like the niching down and really finding who you are, who you serve, and all
Mm-hmm.
of that,
Yeah.
and the networking, because you can network with other people and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm a photographer."
Yeah.
And I feel like before I niched down, that's what I told people, was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm a photographer." And they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, cool. What kind? Like, what do you made?
Yeah.
Like, what do you enjoy photographing?" And I'd be like, "Oh, well, I'm mostly a wedding photographer." Or I do. I used to be like, I even on my first business card just like said, weddings, families,
Hmm.
events, headshots. It was just like
Oh yeah, I've been
the
there too. I
whole
did the
the
same
whole
thing.
gamut. I was just like,
Yeah.
whatever. Anyone who wants to step in front of my camera and give me money, that is cool.
Right.
And yeah, and then now niching down, I tell people, I'm a wedding photographer.
Hmm.
And a lot of times I'll tell them I'm a wedding photographer for certain people, for
Right.
people who really want to feel comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
awesome. Yeah,
and
it's
then
even
that like
better.
starts
Hmm.
that conversation of like,
Yep.
oh, what does that even mean? What does that look
Yeah.
like? And then you can go into all sorts of stuff. And
Yeah.
not in a like elevator pitch type way, but in
Right.
a genuine, like, we're having a conversation about this kind of
Exactly. And there's a
networking.
lot more interesting things that come from those kinds of conversations when you're able to talk specifics and like get
100%.
really into it.
Yeah. And specifics allows you to stay in conversation, because I'm
Hmm.
not it's funny because I I host a podcast and I talk constantly, but I'm not a very good conversationalist in like the small talk. I don't do small talk very well. I'm just
Yeah, I
like,
me too. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
Like if
enjoy small talk that
I
much, I'll
don't.
be honest. Yeah, I'd
Yes,
much rather
yeah,
talk about something like meaty.
yeah, yeah. Like I would rather just be like, so what's like, even
Yeah.
even just like, I love movies, and even just like, what is the last movie that like made you cry or just like feel something really really deeply, and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
instead of
Uh-huh.
just like, so have you seen any cool movies lately?
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, like
That it's
it's
it's such a better use of time in my mind. Like I'm all
yes,
about time efficiency where I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna use this time, I really want to come away with having like learned
100%.
something or like
100%.
yeah, it's great.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I love that. I love both of those that you mentioned, and those have been really integral in my business as well, because I feel like yeah, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago was when I first really started niching down and not just accepting anything and everything,
Right.
and also making a point to network, and not
Hmm.
just network with other photographers, which I love doing, and I love going to conferences and all that kind of stuff. I met you at a conference,
I know.
and yeah,
This
so
was a
yeah,
great connection. This is
it
what
was
I'm
a great
saying. And
connection. Yeah.
and I feel like and it wasn't like the weird like icky business like networking. I feel like that's what always comes to mind when I use the word networking. And I just
Yes,
feel like there is like
it's
such a
like the,
great way to
here's a
do
business
it.
card, here's a business card, here's
Yes.
a business
Like I
card
don't
kind
really
of,
care
yeah.
about you, just follow me on Instagram.
Uh-huh.
That kind of weird stuff. But like I feel like real true connections are so meaningful and
Yeah.
helpful, I think, because especially networking with like outside of your industry, you have people that are like, oh, I know this person and they like do a really great job, and
Right.
and they're doing it genuinely because you have like an actual friendship, you know.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And there's so many times that like it could be 3 years from now that someone's like, oh yeah, I remember Melese. She does branding photography,
Hmm.
and now I need that. Or now
Right.
someone in my life needs that. I'm like, oh, I know someone, and yeah, I follow her on Instagram. We met
Yeah.
randomly at like some,
Right?
like one of those like sip and paint event type things,
I know.
and started talking. And
But
yeah,
I also, and I love having people to recommend. I think like
me
it works
too.
both
Yeah.
ways. Like I love being recommended, but I also
Hmm.
love it when someone's like, "Hey, I'm looking for someone that does this and this," and it can be like, "Oh my gosh, I know a person. They're fantastic. You should hire them." It's just
Yes.
like it's this really great way to sort of I hesitate to use the phrase like give back, but it's just like it's a give and take. It's wonderful. I think
Yeah.
it's really helpful. And the other thing I was thinking too with niching down that really helps is that a lot of times when you're trying to do all of it, I think in any industry, but I think especially photography, there's a switching cost. Like it's
Hmm.
different parts of your brain that you're using. And you mentioned that at the beginning where it's like you're doing different stuff when you're shooting weddings or families and you're
Yeah.
documenting like those people in that moment in time versus a business and trying to really like hone in on their what their marketing is going to look like.
Right.
And when you switch back and forth, it takes it from you. It takes a little bit of creativity away from you to be able you can't use that for the next client. And
Right.
I think that's been the thing I've noticed too is that I have more energy to put into one thing and get really good at that one thing. And then it pays back.
Yeah, because it just keeps building on itself.
Hmm.
And you're just like, because there are so many times where I'll be at a photo shoot and like photographing a couple. And then at the end, I'm like, oh, this, like, that was amazing. But it, like, I wish I would have done
Yeah,
this at
totally.
this
Uh-huh.
moment. And then the next time during the photo shoot, I'm like, oh, yeah, that thing that I missed that last
Yeah.
time or that I thought of after the shoot, I wanna do that, and then I
Yeah.
implement it then because I'm still in that mindset. I'm going from the same kind of photo shoot to the same kind of photo shoot.
Yeah.
So
Comes
yeah,
naturally more, I think, when you
yeah,
just do the same thing.
I agree. Yeah,
I mean, there's differences obviously, but yeah.
right. Yeah. So speaking of the same thing, this saturated market that everyone's talking about,
Oh yeah.
why is it that there's actually not such a saturated market, or there doesn't have to be a saturated market for you?
Well, I think that a lot of times, especially with the way social media has played out and everything, we just end up looking and comparing instead of recognizing that we all have something different to bring to the table. And
Mhm.
there's like a million different people out there that are needing a million different types of things. There is so much work to be had. Like there just really, really is. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think I don't know, trying to have more of an abundance mindset is just a really, really good thing. Once you start saying like it's a saturated market, it's almost like you just thrown in the towel and you've given up and you're
Right.
like, oh, whatever, like I'm never gonna make it in this at all. There's a way. I mean, it takes work and it takes time and it takes a lot of like soul searching for lack of a better phrase of
Uh-huh.
like what do you want from this, what do you want to be giving to your clients, how can you pull yourself away from the pack and help people see that you do something just slightly differently or you do something that a select group of people find incredible, and like they
Yeah.
have to have it. I just don't think that it's the saturated market. I think comes really from like what I spoke about before, just this white noise sort of imagery of like, oh, you're you're a graphic designer. Here's a picture of you in a coffee shop with a laptop and white walls and like there needs to be personality in things because we all have such different personalities.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what people typically hire you for. Even though you may
Hmm.
think they're hiring me for my services, they're hiring me because I, do
Yeah,
X, Y, and Z. A lot of it is, I mean, that's why it's so important to get on, discovery calls and like talk to your
exactly.
potential clients is
Hmm.
get that personal connection, and then they can see, okay, do I like this person? Do we
Right,
mesh?
right.
Because you're going to be around for a couple hours at least,
Uh-huh.
and you're going to be bouncing ideas off of each other. And you don't want someone who is not going to really mesh well with you. If you're going to rub each other
Right.
the wrong way, it's like, well, this is going to be uncomfortable working with
Yeah.
you. I think we're going to go with someone else. You take great photos, but not the right personality for me.
Right. Well, and especially because photography is a service oriented business. Like it
Hmm.
is so much about your personality. And along those lines, I can't even tell you how many people. and this is not a criticism, by the way, because I've been just as guilty, but I think especially as photographers, we're so used to being behind the lens that
Yeah.
I don't see any pictures of who the actual photographer is in photographers' feeds. Like you can go to their website and there's usually like a picture or something, but I feel like that's the first thing I usually tell service-based businesses is you need to be showing your face. People
Yes.
need to see who you are. Like it shouldn't be like I have to dig through your feed and be like, wait, is that them? Is that
Hmm.
them? Like I should know what you look like because that's the first connection, right? Is like seeing your face. I see who you are. I feel like I could connect with you. And and then the next of course is like, trying to have a video chat or like speaking in
Right.
person or something. And
Yeah.
it makes a huge difference. Like you need to have a great photograph of yourself as your profile picture and you need to post pictures of yourself. It's not vain. Like people need to see who you are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we went through a whole very curated
Hmm.
era of Instagram where
Yes.
like everything needed to be edited in the same filter. And like I remember
Very
for a while I
cohesive.
was doing like one dark photo, one bright photo, one
Oh,
dark
yeah,
photo, and I
totally.
wanted my feed to look
Yes.
like a checkerboard for some reason.
Oh yeah, it's like
And
a close
yeah,
up, but then a far away, and then
right. Yeah, I can't have two close-ups next to each other. It's gonna throw off the whole thing. No one's gonna want to hire me after
yeah,
that. Uh,
exactly. Because people
yeah,
care about that for sure.
right. Yeah, and yeah, I think that we're a lot of people are still in that mindset of like, well, I can't. I need to show my face like every 9 squares, but I can't do more than that. Or,
Yeah,
or just the feeling of like, it's just weird to put my face out there and
yeah.
vulnerable to put my face out there.
Oh,
Uh,
totally. Yeah, that
yeah,
exists for sure. And I totally
yeah,
understand that feeling,
yeah,
especially as a photographer. You're like, no, I chose this job because I want to be back here and not in
right.
front of.
Yeah, I enjoy this side of the camera.
Yes. So I totally get that, but I feel like it makes a difference. People feel more comfortable hiring you if they know what you look like. It's a big one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I don't know how many times I have, because I like to reach out to people who follow me on Instagram. I
Hmm.
don't have, 50,000 followers, so I can still do that when I get, an extra 10 followers in a day or something like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I'll just
Yeah.
go in there and message everyone and say hi. But so many times I'll go there and it's just like, you know, uh, Northeast Florida photographer. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And like
Nothing to go
scrolling
on here.
through looking for a picture of someone with a camera and there's nothing. I go
Yeah.
to their website, the About Me page is just like pictures that they've taken, or like this is a picture of
Hmm.
coffee that I like to drink.
Right.
And it's like I can connect with you over coffee 100%,
Hmm. Yeah.
but
Who can't? Come
it's
on.
it's so much quicker to connect with you with a face
With a
and be
face.
able to be like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. Hi.
Yeah.
This is
I
your
mean, we're visual
name.
people.
This
Like
is your
we need
face."
to,
Yeah.
and I feel like social media, we want to feel a little bit like we're in person, Like we don't
Right.
want to lose that completely
Yeah.
of being like, oh, here's this like random person that I have no idea what they look like, and we're having a
Yeah.
conversation. And
Uh-huh.
I don't know who I'm working with here. But yeah, that's the thing I feel like is one of the big ones. That is, I'm like, that's the first connection. You gotta
Yes.
like put yourself out there. It's okay. Like it doesn't matter. People just want to see who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so how can we do that and show personality more than just like a smiling at the camera or sitting there laughing at your laptop kind of
Right.
photo? Like, what are some ways that we can really stand out more and be less of that white noise?
I think that you have to sort of break it down a little bit. I have a really extensive, well, I say extensive, I don't know. I have a questionnaire that I send out to
Yeah.
all my clients. And I think that you have to think through who your target audience is and how you feel that you connect with them. Like, in what ways do you feel like you connect with them?
Mm,
You have to think about like parts of your personality, parts of your like customer experience. I think that a lot of times it's personality based of like, okay, here's this like moody artist who loves like this beautiful drama looking like dark light and like really uses shape and light well. Let's try and mirror that in
hmm.
their photography while also, kind of trying to pull out some of their personality, parts of their personality. Um, And I think that it maybe seems like it's like a weird enigma thing, but I feel like it really comes together. And I think that you can use all sorts of different like techniques to get to that place. Like you can use blur, you can like, there's so many little things that you can do to spruce up a portrait and make it feel more like them, you know?
Yeah. 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 I think that's great. Like that questionnaire that you talked about of really diving in and figuring out who you are, how you connect with your target clients.
Hmm.
Cause like for me, figuring that out, I was
Oh, it's
like,
hard.
I don't know. Like I know that
Yeah.
they want to feel comfortable in front of the camera. I want
Yeah.
them to feel comfortable in front of the camera. That's how we connect. That's
Yeah.
it.
Right.
And like, yeah,
Exactly.
that's all we need to do. A smiling face, and they should
Yeah.
feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely not a like 5-minute fix type deal where
No. And
yeah.
I think that there is some work that you have to do before we can really dive in really deeply.
Mhm.
That there's sometimes with clients it's a okay, hold on. Go and do like some work here to figure out like who it is that you're going after and then come back to me and then we'll go through this again because I feel like it's really important to sit down and think through that yourself beforehand. Like I
Yeah.
can't conjure that. It
Right.
Did I even say that word right? Conjure. Well,
Yeah,
that
I
was
think
a really exciting
yeah,
pronunciation.
I think so. I'm gonna go
but
with it.
but I think that like there are definitely ways that we can pull it out. And a
Yeah.
lot of those ways are just asking the right kinds of questions to get you thinking about the right kinds of things.
Mhm.
So that I can start to look through my toolbox and see which ones I want to pull out, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's so good for people even just with posting online
Uh-huh.
and posting on their websites
Yeah.
and, like, even changing the copy on your website and About Me,
Hmm.
to really fit, something that's gonna stand out. You know,
Right.
there's, a friend of mine, uh I'm trying to remember her photography name, but Allison Bolin.
Oh
She's
yeah.
a photographer in Dallas,
Hmm.
and she has like quotes from Parks and Rec and The Office and
I
stuff
love
all over her website,
it.
and I'm like, yeah, like
Yeah,
that is a
that's the
hundred
kind of stuff.
percent Allison.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well, and that's what I think people don't recognize is that your brand isn't just like your color palette and your logo and like the
yeah,
types of pictures that you post. It is everything. It is like, yeah, what are your clients watching? What are your clients reading? What are your clients
hmm,
eating? Where are they traveling to? Do they travel? You know, like it's all of those kinds of questions and understanding how those answers can like
yeah.
meld into, what it looks like visually.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like even the shirt that I'm wearing right now is it's a fan shirt from the My Favorite Murder podcast. And that's
I was gonna say
something
I've been trying to figure out what it is.
what
Apparently I
SSDGM
haven't
stands for.
listened to it.
Yeah, I think below this, yeah, it's really, really small. It says My Favorite Murder. And I was where was I? Oh, I was picking up my nephew earlier today,
Mhm.
and one of the younger nephews is like 5 or 6, and he just looked at my shirt and he was like, "That's your favorite murder?" And I was like, "Yes, it is."
But then somebody else is gonna look at that and they're gonna know exactly what it is, and they're gonna be like, "I need to
Yeah.
talk to this person."
Oh
Like,
yeah.
pop culture is such a great way of connecting with prospective clients.
Yep.
Like, I mean, anybody who is into Parks and Rec, The Office,
Yes.
Schitt's Creek, like, you're
Yeah.
immediate friends. It's
Yeah.
like you understand each other on a whole new level.
You've got a whole arsenal of inside jokes to throw at them.
Exactly.
It was like, okay,
Exactly.
yeah, cool.
Oh
We
my
can talk
gosh.
about this the entire time. And yeah, there have been times that, I'll post like a TikTok where I'm wearing this shirt. I'm just talking about something or doing some lip sync to a trending audio.
Yeah.
And then the comments are just like, my favorite murder or SSTGM. That's so great. I listen to them
Yeah.
too. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't even
Mhm.
thinking of that. Like this was not a planned thing, but it
Exactly.
is something that we can connect on.
Right. And that's
And
what
yeah,
a brand is. A brand is like something that your clients keep coming back to because they feel like they're part of the club. And like
yes.
you want people to continue to feel like part of the club, which is why it's so important to figure out what club you are.
Right. Yeah.
So people know what they're jumping into, and you have a much better idea of what to say and what to
Hmm.
show in order to get the right people in.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think of like Maddie May and how she's always talking about sustainability in nature and like very big into leave no trace. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime that you are out in nature taking photos, like pick up after
Mm-hmm.
yourself. If there's,
Yeah.
if you're popping off a champagne cork at the end of the engagement session, go find that champagne cork. Like
Right.
take mental note of where that is, or pop it off in your hand, or like
Mm-hmm.
figure out some ways that you can um, leave without leaving a trace. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that anytime that is brought up, or uh, anytime someone is talking about like adventure photography or confetti or anything like that, Maddie May comes to my mind, because that is her brand and that is what
Right.
she speaks on
Yeah.
often.
Yeah.
So yeah, figuring out what your special sauce is, like what is
Mm-hmm.
the thing that makes you different, to where you're not just the same old photographer. Like, because
Right.
whenever you are the
Exactly.
same old photographer, the only thing that they can compare you on is price, and then you're just going to be
Exactly.
discounting yourself into nothing.
Yep. Exactly. And like, I mean, we want to be financially viable. Like that's
Yeah.
that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
And so you really want to try and pluck out the things that you do differently than everyone else, and you want to, like, my goal is always to photograph things like that so that you have something to talk about, like,
Yeah.
because every platform is so visual. Like you want a photo that like kind of people are like, oh, that's interesting, I want to like go back and look at that again, and then that gives you like an opportunity to talk about, hey, this is what I do differently, this
Hmm.
is how I can help you solve this problem,
Yeah.
and really kind of separate you again from the pack. So
Yeah. Okay. So for someone who's listening to this and they're like, I have absolutely no idea what sets me apart, I have no idea how to even start getting there. Do you have any recommendations for them, of like just some questions to maybe even ask themselves, to really feel like what are they passionate about? What's their why? Those kind of
yeah.
things.
So I think that, yeah, doing the why thing, I think there's like a finding out what your 5 steps are, or 7 steps or something, or I think it's called 7 layers deep, actually.
Okay.
I think that one's actually super helpful. So you start, especially if you're not sure where to start, this is a great place to start. But it's like a circle, and you kind of move your way in. So you start really broad, where it's like, I'm a brand photographer, and then you slowly inch your way in to the point. It's kind of like the niching idea
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like, I'm a brand photographer that, I want to transform businesses visually, and then you go down one more. I want to make it so that people are able to speak to their clients so much easier. Like there's just, I don't even know if that's deeper, but you get the idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really helpful. And I did it probably 5 or 6 times when I was first rebranding, because it takes a minute to figure
Hmm.
out exactly what those correct steps are, or the depth part of it, to get to that super deep part where you're like, this is the goal. This is the goal right here.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, one of the things that I use in my questionnaire a lot to try and get a feel for, how to pull like something visually out of people, is using words. I think that a lot of times, even if you are a photographer or a creative that, makes art or whatever, sometimes you're so close to it that it's really hard to be like, this is the look I'm going for, or,
Right.
like it's really hard to describe that. So a lot of times I'll use words where it's like, okay, give me 3 words that best describe, the way that you want to present yourself to your
Hmm.
clients. Give me 5 words that best describe your brand. And you get all sorts of things like, I should have probably grabbed some just so I could look at what some people have said. But I feel like when I get things like, adventurous, or moody, or like it helps to paint a picture for both of us. And I
Yeah.
think that when you're so in it and you're so close to it, a lot of times it's hard to be able to voice kind of what you feel like is your brand or whatever. And I think sometimes simplifying it into just single words is super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's so good because I am definitely one of those people that, like, if you ask me, like, what are 3 words that describe you? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I can't think about myself. Like, I want to, like, I can think of things that I want to be, but
Mhm.
maybe not what actually is describing me. So
Mhm.
yeah, like asking past clients, asking your friends and family,
Mhm.
those around you,
Right.
even like other photographers, of like, whenever you see my photos, what are some things that you think of,
Right.
and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
well, and I think another thing that really helps is like thinking through like one or two or even three of your clients that you have loved so much that you're
Hmm.
like, this is who I want to be working with every single time.
Yep.
And you think about things within those clients that are similar, and that can really help to kind of like pave the way of like, oh, this is who I'm targeting. I'm
Yeah.
trying to talk to this person, this person. And again, like going through like, okay, well, where do these people shop? Like, where do these people eat? Like, what do they do in their spare time? Like, so that you have some ideas of how to reach them,
Yeah.
and things that you can say, and visually how you can stop them in their tracks.
Yeah, and even if you have no idea where they shop and what they do and all of
Yeah.
that, because I also didn't, but
Mm.
I had like 3 couples that I absolutely loved, and this
But you
was
can
probably
also
like,
send them a questionnaire. I
yeah, that's what I
mean,
was gonna say.
is that what you're
It's
gonna
probably
do?
like 2018, I think, that I was really trying to figure out the words that described me, really figure out a brand instead of just being the cheapest wedding photographer out there.
Right.
And I picked 3 couples that just, they were amazing. It was so great working with them,
Hmm.
and I reached out to them, was like, "Hey, can we either, 1, meet up for coffee, or I'll send you like a Starbucks gift card just for a quick 10-minute phone call and ask you a couple questions."
Yeah.
And I just had some questions, and you can even send them like a questionnaire online if you don't want to do over the
Yeah.
phone, which might be easier for them on their lunch break or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just answer the questions for me
Hmm.
and helped me figure out, like, okay, these are the places that you go,
Hmm.
these are the places that, the vendors that were really important to them early on,
Hmm.
that maybe I wasn't thinking of really networking with a baker, because I was like, oh yeah, you probably like hire a baker, I don't know, 2 months before the wedding or something, which you don't. If you're listening and you're planning your wedding, hire one earlier than that.
Man, if I had known all these things when I got married so
Right?
many years
Yeah.
ago.
Oh, I know. Yeah, things have
The
changed so
long
much.
list. I'm pretty sure Pinterest barely existed. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, but yeah, you can reach out to your past clients,
And if
and
if you had such a great connection with them, they are going to be thrilled to help you out.
and
Like,
they were. Oh yeah.
that's the
They were
best
like,
part. And
"This
I
is
think
amazing."
that if you can continue to find people that you connect that well with, you don't even need a referral program. You don't need it,
No.
because they will happily be referring you to everyone that they know.
Yep.
It'll be like when you know someone outside of your industry and like someone asks, "Oh yeah, I do. I know this person and they're
Uh-huh.
wonderful." Like, you don't need to be paid for that. You don't need any special prizes. You're just thrilled to do it. So
Right.
that's the goal, is trying to find as many of those types of clients as you can.
Mhm.
And yeah, sometimes that just starts with reaching out to the ones that you've had really great experiences with and you want more of.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I love it. This has
Yeah.
been so good. I feel like I'm energized to get out there and really, I don't know, kind of like see if I need to make some tweaks on my own website. And
Yeah.
I have I need to book a branding session really bad, which I would love to fly up to Utah and
I know. Just
and
come here
get
in the
one.
summer when it's not winter.
Yes, yeah,
Just
when
wait.
it's not snowing all the time.
Well, and if I'm in
Uh,
Texas, I will definitely reach out to you for
oh
sure. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
but yeah, this has been really fun. I really enjoyed just chatting all of my favorite topics of like,
Yes.
I get really excited talking to people about their branding because there's just so many ways that you can very easily upscale yourself, which is awesome.
Yes. Yeah. Well, cool. Okay, before we wrap up and everything, there is a part of the show that I like to do where we talk about what we're loving. So
Excellent.
this could be, a TV show, a book, whatever. Could be that the snow is finally melting. What
Oh,
is it? What is it that
yes.
you're loving?
Well, I think that I don't know. I've been loving this for a really long time, so it's still really there. But a
Cool.
good flat white,
Yeah.
I feel like that always, especially this winter, I feel like that has probably kept me alive. Is like being able to drink coffee.
Yes.
It's like it's just so cold. It's the worst. But the other thing, this is really funny too. I really like to cook. It's one of my favorite things. Uh, Most of the time. Sometimes no, but
Uh,
most of the time, I love it.
when you're in the mood, it is one of your
Yes.
favorite things. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes,
Same
exactly.
same here.
But one of my most favorite things is that like I get excited to cook because I'll turn on Schitt's Creek on my phone and I'll just like have like an earbud in
Uh-huh.
and just listen to that while I cook, and it is like the most pleasant experience. I've probably listened to the show like I don't even know, at least 5 times.
Yeah.
Like I just keep it rolling. It never gets old. It's still funny every single
Yes.
time.
Yeah, and at that point, you've already seen it, so
Yeah,
it's like, yeah,
exactly. Just
I can
listening to it, it's like the jokes are great,
I
man.
can picture it in my mind. If I need to, I can lean over real quick while I'm, like, chopping things,
Oh, totally.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
And speaking of The Office, I used to do that with The Office all the time when I was editing. And just like have it on
Oh,
another screen and just be
yep.
listening to it. I mean, some of these shows, man, they can just last forever. It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah. I think the both of those for sure are those evergreen shows that, like, we've
Hmm.
even seen that with The Office, how it has gone through generations to where there's,
Hmm.
like, children watching The Office now
Oh yeah, my kids quote
that
The
love The Office.
Office. Like
Yeah,
we all quote it together.
parenting goals. That's
It's
great.
amazing. I know. I'm like, is this something I should be proud of or should I be ashamed? Nah, I'm
Yeah.
happy that they know about The Office.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a wholesome show too. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's
But
good lessons, right?
yeah, 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 for sure. But yeah, that's those I love I do the same thing whenever I'm cooking. It's like this is my little bubble
Hmm.
of I'm cooking, I'm doing things, I'm chopping things, I'm,
Yeah.
sautéing stuff, and I always have some sort of show going on my phone and just an earbud in to
Yep.
where I can listen to it, I can follow along, and I can lean over and look at it every now and
Yeah.
then. And it's
It's
usually something that I've
it's been
watched
very
19
enjoyable.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, it can't be something new or you're gonna burn things. So
Oh, yeah.
you have
Yeah,
to
I have
try
made
not to
that
do
mistake
that.
where I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah. Oh, it has been 30 minutes. I
Yep.
need to actually do something."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Quick, stir the onions. They're
Yeah.
burning.
I have chopped 1 carrot in the last 15 minutes.
No one's ever gonna eat. It's fine. No big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, awesome. Yeah, those are great. I also love a good flat white.
Yeah.
It's a good go-to, especially in a new coffee shop that I don't really know where their sweetness level lands.
Yes,
Because
that's true.
sometimes I'll order something, I'm like, "This is just it's
I don't
syrup.
like my
It's
coffee
just"
sweet.
I don't either. Yeah.
It's like hot chocolate is dead to me. I mean, maybe I can do
Th
a dark chocolate occasionally, like a really
Mhm.
deep hot chocolate, but I really like my coffee just, straight. Just
Yes. Yeah. Have you ever
put a bit of milk.
tried, Abuelitas?
I have heard of them,
Uh
but no, I have not tried them.
It's my favorite hot chocolate because it's a little bit more, like, on the darker side, so
Okay,
it's not super
okay.
sweet, and then there's
Uh-huh.
a lot of spices. So it's got,
Is
like,
it the
some
one that comes in
cinnamon.
like the rings or whatever and you like
Yeah.
plop it in? Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay. My sister was telling me about that a long time ago. I feel like I
Yeah.
need to revisit it.
It's good. They've also come out with the little packets like Swiss Miss or whatever that you can just
Gotcha.
pour straight in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. It's my fave.
Yeah.
Anytime that it gets cold here in Texas, which is not
Yeah.
very often, but
I was
but
gonna
when
say, wait a second, cold in
yeah
Texas?
yeah
It does
we
happen
got
occasionally for you guys, though. I mean,
occasionally, yeah,
yeah,
we had that like 14-degree freeze a couple years ago. That
yeah,
was
that was crazy. That was
yeah.
super, super
Yeah,
crazy.
it was fun until we lost power, and then it wasn't fun.
Right. Yeah.
It was
And then
like,
it
oh,
was
this
like
is
camping all the
interesting.
time, right?
Yeah, it's like, okay, so it's like
Don't like
below
this.
freezing inside. This is
No.
not. not good
No.
with
Oh my
little ones.
gosh. The worst. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
so it's fun. That's
Glad
why
we haven't had any of
we're
that this year.
Texas. We want our grid to be separate from the rest of everyone.
Oh my gosh.
But okay, let's see. What am I loving?
Yeah.
Oh, I was talking to you about this before we
Yes, I
started
want to hear more
recording.
about it.
Okay, so I'm loving a show called The Last of Us. I know no one has heard of this show. It's a very under the radar, definitely not winning any Oscars. Wait, Oscars are movies?
I
Emmys?
think Emmys are TV shows,
I
right?
think so. I don't
Okay.
know.
I don't know.
Tonys
I
are
get a little lost.
musicals.
Oh,
That's the
there we
only
go.
one that I really know.
Yeah, Tonys. I think Oscars are movies and
I
Emmys are
think so.
shows.
I think that's correct.
But then there's
And
a few other awards shows that I don't. Anyway, sorry.
yeah,
Go on.
yeah.
We're
But yeah,
tangenting.
very well. It's okay. It's in the name of the podcast. We should tangent. But
That's
yeah,
true.
it's a good show. It's a good like different take on zombie apocalypse.
Which of course
So
has been a white noise thing in the past. We're
it
bringing it back
has.
around.
Yes,
Full
everything.
circle.
Yeah, World War Z. The like, I feel like this show is what The Walking Dead could have been. And
Mm,
I am also a big fan of The Walking Dead. I loved it for probably a good 6 seasons. And then
yeah, I heard. I mean, I didn't watch all of it. I think I caught like a couple of episodes, but they kind of should
mhm.
have stopped it, right? At a certain point.
Yeah,
Is that what it
yeah,
was?
I don't really know what happened. It just got really confusing, and it seemed like, again, white noise. It was like the same kind of writing where it was like they are traveling, they run into another group, that group is hostile. Now there's this conflict for this season, and there's like this one central bad guy, and then they
Mm,
defeat the bad guy at the end of the season, and then the next season they meet a new one, and it's just kind of the same. It started being the same thing happening over and over again.
yeah.
Uh, and then a couple of my favorite characters got killed off, and I was like, you know
Slash.
what?
No.
I think I'm done.
I think
And
sounds like they were done. They were
I
just
think they
like,
were
we're like, we don't know what to write about, so let's kill some people.
right. Yeah, and also some of the actors, like one of the
They're
characters
like,
was
I'm
like,
out.
I really want to go to college, so can you just kill me off? Uh,
That's what I always think of anytime a character dies in like a TV show. I'm like, no, they either got fired or they asked to be let go.
mhm.
It's one of the two.
Yeah, let me IMDb real quick and see what movies are coming out.
Yeah.
Oh, they're working on 2 movies next year. Okay, that makes
Oh,
sense.
okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I don't feel as bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have recently gotten back into The Walking Dead. I think I'm in the last season. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one of those cooking shows where I have it on, even though it's new. It's just like, okay, cool. That's
Hmm.
Michonne's voice. I understand what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, The Last of Us. It's a good twist on that, a good different take to where it's not like there's a virus that has infected people, and
Yeah.
when you die you turn into this, and there's like a whole hive
Right.
mind concept.
And maybe
And
after the
yeah,
pandemic, we're all just like, please, no more of this whole like apocalyptic.
right,
Like,
yeah,
please, let's
yeah.
just move past that. Come up with a different idea.
Hmm. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
it's good, and it's like a good pace of a show
Mhm.
too, where
Mhm.
there's some action sequences, but then there's like some really thoughtful storyline of the character development and their development
Mhm.
in relationship with other characters, and
Yeah.
some backstory of why they are the way that they are and stuff like that. Uh,
Yeah.
which, as we record this, the last episode of the first season just came out
Oh
a couple
boy.
days ago, so I have already watched it, of course. And
As
yeah,
soon
it
as it
was
dropped.
as soon as it popped up on HBO Max, I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing tonight.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was very good. Is it ended differently than I thought it was going to?
Hmm.
Um,
That's always kind of fun when you
yeah,
can't guess it, you know?
yeah, because I feel like a lot of shows, I'm just like, I
Yeah.
understand, like, I'm interested in writing and stuff, so
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yeah,
always
yeah.
like a little bit ahead of like, I bet this is gonna
Oh,
happen,
that
and then it
reminds me
does.
actually, a show I just have been watching recently. So we're just gonna
Uh-huh.
go one more because this
Yeah,
is actually really, it reminds me of
second
this.
round
Um, it's called Poker Face. Have you heard of it?
with Natasha Lyonne.
Yes.
I have heard of it.
It's
I have not watched it yet.
You should give it a go. It's very interesting. The writing itself it's like a, kind of like murder mystery type thing, and it's
Okay.
very episodic.
Okay.
Even though there's like a relatively broad story, but it's pretty episodic. But they do it in such an interesting way. The guy who
Hmm.
wrote and directed Glass Onion, what's his name?
Uh,
Ryan.
Ryan Murphy? No,
Uh,
that's a different guy.
I know it's spelled Rian because I remember seeing it once and I was like, oh, interesting. I've never seen it spelled
Yeah.
like that. But
Oh,
he
I
also
can't remember
did
his last
the
name.
one of the Star Wars movies too, like the middle one.
Yes. Everyone is
Anyway,
screaming at their phones right now.
yes,
Just
yes.
like
I'm so bad with names. I'm excited that I remembered that
yeah.
part. So
Yeah.
we'll just go with that.
We're just on a first name basis. Ryan.
But like, yeah, we're buddies, so it's totally fine. But no, that one is really interesting. I loved Glass Onion too. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
gosh, so good. And Knives Out is one of my favorite movies of all time, honestly. Like every time
There's
I watch it, I feel like I catch something new. There's
yes.
just so many little details.
Yeah. Yeah. Little the subtle details of even the like the brand of phone that the
Yes.
different characters are using.
Yes.
And you're just like,
Oh, so
oh,
interesting. And like the
that makes sense.
compositions. Oh, they're so
So well
good.
done. Is
So good. I watched this one
yeah.
behind the scenes thing and they were talking about how they specifically had like the people lined up, and the planner in me, like the pose person or
Yeah.
part of my brain was just like, oh, like I don't know why. I mean, I've never really like dabbled in film, filmography, I guess you could
Hmm.
say. And so I don't really know how that works, generally speaking, like on a set or anything. And it is but it was so fascinating to like think about. I'm like, oh, of course, they're like, we want this person here, we want this person here, because they're kind of like a backstage actor.
Yeah.
They're like, they're not like, right in your face. Anyway, so
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, and how they layered the different stories, especially in
Yes,
Knives Out, where certain people were in the
yes.
background of other
Oh,
stories, and then the
I
future
mean,
episodes you see them, and you're
so
like,
good.
"That's what was going on back there." Okay,
Yep,
and
yep.
yeah, that
Just
was
incredible
that
writing.
was
So
great.
Poker Face, I feel like it's written by him. There's a
Okay,
really nice twist to every single episode that's really
mm,
interesting.
okay,
And I really enjoyed it. And
okay,
the actress is great too. So
yeah.
that's a good
I
one.
like Natasha Lyonne. I really liked her in Russian Doll
Yeah.
a couple years
I
ago.
didn't finish that. I need to go back. I started it, but I didn't finish it.
It's definitely an acquired taste,
She's a very
of
quirky actor.
she is very quirky, yeah,
Which
with
it's a love or hate, I think. And
yeah,
I love it.
especially with her voice, I could see a lot of people
Yes.
just being like, "I don't like that
I can't do
voice. I don't
it.
like how harsh she is,"
Right.
but she's very, like,
She's
New
so
Yorker. I'm
talented.
like, "Whatever, you're
Yeah,
here.
totally.
Get out of the
Yeah.
way."
I know. I love
And
it.
yeah. Okay, Poker
That's
Face.
great.
I'm gonna have to watch that. I heard her on some podcast interview recently,
Oh yeah.
and she was talking about that, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool, a new thing I need
Yeah.
to watch." So,
Yeah, I know. Shoot.
you're
Darn
reminding
it.
me now. Here we go.
Yeah. I can't
Okay,
remember which streaming service it's on, but go find it.
yeah, it'll be linked in the show notes if anyone's interested. And you're probably already subscribed to all of them, so just search in there. Everyone's subscribed to everything these
I
days.
know. We've all just taken the medicine
Yep. Yep.
and
And then
just done it.
eventually we're going to get the packages where it's all the streaming platforms together, just like we used to have with cable.
This
And
is
we're
what
just
I'm
going to
saying. I
come
know.
full
I
circle.
kind of feel like everybody was like, "Oh, cable is stupid," and now it's like,
Uh,
well, what are we now? Let's be
yeah.
honest.
Yeah. The 500 channels of nothing was stupid, but I liked the idea of like having good stuff on cable.
Yes, I'm into
Or
that.
even like back in the day when we had, like the 5 channels that your TV could get.
Right,
And I was like,
right.
there's always something on. There's a cartoon channel.
Yes, we will
I'm gonna
find
find
it
something.
and we
Yeah,
will enjoy it. Yeah,
yeah,
no, it's good. It'll work.
yeah, yeah. Okay, well,
Yeah.
cool. Melise, this has been so good. Where can
Yeah.
people find you? Where can they see your photos and
Oh,
follow
yeah.
along, DM you, say hi, all those things?
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is just Melese Miller. Super chill, super basic. Melese though. I don't know why. I always have to be like, my name's Melese, Melese. I'm just used to spelling it. But most of my stuff is on Instagram. That's kind of where I live. My
Sweet.
website's melissemiller.com, but more stuff there. But mostly all my recent
Awesome.
stuff is on Instagram. So
Cool. Awesome. Well, cool. Yeah.
Cool.
I will have a link to your Instagram and website in the show notes as well. So people can follow along and say,
Cool.
hey.
All right.
Yeah. Well, thanks so
Awesome.
much
This
for
has
being
been
on
so
the show.
fun. Yeah, I
Yes.
really, really enjoyed this chat. This was
Me
really great.
too.
Again, one of my
It's
favorite conversations to have is just talking branding and
yeah.
how to take yourself up the ladder and just kind of get looking nice and sharp.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like this conversation was like well overdue because I felt like so connected to you at Hybrid
I
a couple
know.
years
Well,
ago.
we really bonded, okay?
We really, yeah. And those like 40-mile-an-hour winds trying to hold down
It was
everything.
so cold too. I've never been so cold in my life.
It was so cold. And that
Freezing.
was, yeah, it was fun. And I was like, we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
And we are.
And we are.
But
I
like,
know.
it's nice to like get to chat. We need to do
Oh,
this more often.
same. I know. I totally agree. We really, really should. I've enjoyed this a lot.
Cool. Me too.
All right. Thanks so much, John.
Absolutely. All right. Y'all, Facebook and not Instagram, YouTube. Thanks for stopping